All right, here's your review for the quiz for tomorrow. All right, the first one we have f of x minus g of x. Be careful in these. You guys will get these wrongs if you don't put the second one in parentheses. So it has to look like this: 2x squared plus x minus 3 minus x squared plus 1. Now, don't forget, when you have the minus ones, you have to change this to a plus and then make these the opposite. So this becomes a negative and this becomes a negative. Again, they're the opposite of what they were. So now we got to collect like terms. So 2x squared and a negative x squared gives me a negative 1x squared. I have a positive x, so plus x. And then I have a negative 3 and a negative 1, which gives me a negative 4. Remember, you follow the rules for addition when you do that. So if the signs are the same, you add them and keep the sign. All right, we got multiplication next. So I got 3x squared times negative 2x cubed. All right, so 3 times negative 2 gives me negative 6. X squared times x to the third. Remember, you keep the variable and you add the exponents. So we get negative 6x to the fifth. All right, division. We got f of x over g of x. So f of x is 4x squared over g of x, 3x cubed. All right, 4 over 3 doesn't reduce, but x to the second, there's 2 of those, so we'll get rid of both of those, and we can get rid of 2 from the bottom, which leaves us still with an x. So we have 4 over 3x, and that would be our answer. Right, next we have f of g of x. Remember, we're going to keep the outside function, the f. We're going to change the g of x to what it is, so x plus 1. Then we're going to rewrite the f function, but we're going to leave out the x and just put parentheses. So it's going to be parentheses squared plus 3. And then we got to put in the x plus 1. All right, now you have to FOIL this out. You have to do x plus 1 times x plus 1 and FOIL it out. Whenever you do that, you're going to get x squared plus 2x plus 1 and then bring down the plus 3. And then just combine your like terms. And we got x squared plus 2x plus 4. All right, then we got g of f of x. Again, same thing. We're going to keep the outside function, which is the g function. We're going to replace the f function with what it is, x squared plus 3. And then we're going to take the g function, rewrite it, but leave the x out and just put parentheses. So it looks like this, parentheses for the x, and then plus 1. Drop this down, so x squared plus 3, and then just combine like terms. So a plus 3 and a plus 1, we get x squared plus 4. All right, so that is your first page. All right. Next page, we have number 6. Number 6, we're going to do the inverse. Now remember, doing the inverse, we change this to y first, and then we switch the x and the y. So now it becomes x equals y plus 8, and then we solve for y. So subtract 8, and we get y equals x minus 8. So the answer would be f to the negative 1 of x equals x minus 8. All right, the next one, again, make that y. Switch the x and the y. So now we have x equals 3y plus 1, and then solve for y. Remember, solving for y. So we subtract 1. X minus 1 equals 3y, and then we divide by 3. Divide by 3, and we get y equals x minus 1 over 3. So our answer is f to the negative 1 of x, which means the inverse function, is x minus 1 over 3. All right, and then the next one, again, we're going to take out the f of x, put a y. All right, switch them. So now I got x equals 3y cubed minus 12. And now we got to solve it for y. So first thing we do is add 12. So now I have 3y cubed equals x plus 12. Divide by 3. They cancel out. And that gives me y cubed equals x plus 12 over 3. And now we got to get rid of the cube. So we do the cube root. And we got to do the cube root to the whole other side. They cancel out. And it gives me y equals the cube root. Don't forget cube root. X plus 12 over 3. So that is my answer. The only thing I do is make it f to the negative 1 of x equals the cube root of x plus 12 over 3. All right, so those are those answers. All right, and then it takes us to number 9. We're solving this. Again, you have to isolate, so it's already by itself. So now we can get rid of this square. All right, the square root by squaring both sides. So I got x plus 3 because the square undoes the square root. And then 0 squared is just 0. And then I subtract 3, so I get x equals negative 3. All right. And then number 10. Again, we have to isolate this first, so we have to add 5. Add 5. And I got the third root of 2x equals 12. Now we got to get rid of the third root, so we have to cube. So third power. So this cancels that out, so it leaves me a 2x equals 12 cubed. I can do that real quick. So again, I'm just throwing this in the calculator. All right, so clear that out and just do 12 to the third power, and we get 1,728. 1,728. And then I just have to divide that by 2, divide that by 2. So again, I just use the calculator, just do divide by 2 and enter, and we get 864. So x equals 864. All right, and that's that page. All right, and then our last page. All right, number 13, square root, so we just basically square both sides. This gets rid of that, this gets rid of that, so it just leaves us with 3x plus 1 equals 2x minus 4. And then I'm going to subtract 2x, which leaves me with x plus 1 equals negative 4, and then subtract 1, and I get x equals negative 5. All right. All right, now 14 is a little tricky here. All right, we have to get rid of this square root by squaring both sides. We have to square the whole thing. All right, so again, this we have to FOIL out, so it becomes x minus 12 times x minus 12 equals, this undoes that, so 4x. Now we have to FOIL this out, so x times x gives us x squared. X times negative 12, negative 12x. Negative 12 times x, negative 12x. Negative 12 times negative 12 is positive 144 equals 4x. Combine our like terms over here. So I got x squared minus 24x plus 144 equals 4x. Now I have to subtract 4x, and that leaves me with x squared minus 28x plus 144 equals 0. All right, so now we got to factor this out. Two sets of parentheses equals 0. X is in the front. Last sign's a plus sign, so it means signs are the same. They're both negative. All right, now I got to find my factors of 144. All right, that add up to 28. All right, let's see. Well, I know it's 12 times 12, so let's see. Can't be 8 times 20. let's see, what are my factors of 144? Make sure I got this all right. All right, 144, yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's try dividing 124 by some numbers. So here we go. 144 divided by 24. And that gives me 6. So 6 and 24, no, that's not going to get it. All right, so 144 divided by 22. No. 144 divided by 21. No. 144 divided by 18. 18 and 8. No. 144 divided by 16. 16 and 9. I don't think we're coming up with this. I don't think we have the factors 144. But the one on the test actually will work. All right, so this one I don't think factors out, so we would have to do the quadratic formula, but the one on the test or in the quiz will actually factor. All right, so 15, you have to verify that f of x and g of x are inverse functions. So again, you have to show that f of g of x is equal to x. All right, so here we go. F of g of x is x minus 5. All right, and then do f of that. So we got x plus 5. So it's, again, parentheses plus 5 is the function. Again, we rewrite it, leave the x out, and then everything else is there. And then we drop this down. We got x minus 5 and x plus 5. So the negative 5 and the positive 5 cancel out. So it leaves us with x. And there you go. That's all you have to really do, because now you have x, and you bring this down equals x. You can just write it as this becoming x, or you can write x equals x. Either way is fine. That's it.